Shalom from here in Israel. I'm sorry that I can't be with you this evening, but what an honor it is to get the Mesorah award from Colel Chabad. It's kind of a funny feeling getting an award for the work that I do with the fellowship. When I wake up every morning and say Modeh Ani, after I thank God for my children and my husband and my health, I thank Him for a job that I love, that I feel passionately about, and have the opportunity to help others in need. I fully recognize that this is not a given. I feel lucky to not only be an Olah Chadasha to Israel, but to see a side of society that even most Israelis don't see. The 1 in 4 children who lives below the poverty line, the soldiers who go home for Shabbat to an empty refrigerator, the Holocaust survivors who need to choose between buying food, medicine, or turning on the heat, the orphans who don't have anywhere to turn. And I'm blessed not only to see the reality on the ground, but to be in a position to help. My father, Yael Eckstein, started the fellowship over 30 years ago as a way to build a strategic friendship and a relationship with the Christian community and strengthen Israel and the Jewish people. And today, we're the largest philanthropic organization in Israel with over 400 projects across Israel distributing humanitarian aid. And we also give $25 million to help the Jewish community in the former Soviet Union. We work with so many partners and organizations and even the government, but the truth is Colel Chabad has always stood out as being exceptional in more than one way. I remember the first time I went to a Colel Chabad food distribution spot before Pesach, I was in shock because let's be honest, a food box distribution spot doesn't sound like a very dignifying place to be. Yet when it's run by Colel Chabad, it truly is. I walked into the center and I was so impressed. The building was spotless, the boxes were packed, they were stacked, they were organized, and the staff and volunteers were all professional, kind, and caring. I remember watching an Ethiopian mother with a baby on her back and 2 little kids at her side come into the distribution. She handed the volunteer her ID card, they checked off her name, and with a big smile they led her to the food box, which had enough food for a family of 5, including treats for the kids. She opened up the box and her face immediately transformed into a smile. Her children too stood shyly beside her, giggling with joy as they caught a glimpse into the upcoming holiday, which was gonna look good, simply because they had food instead of empty stomachs that they were used to. But it didn't end there. As the mother struggled to push the box, carry her baby, and keep her toddler safe while crossing the street, a volunteer came running up to her. "I'll drive you home," he said. And within seconds, he scooped up the heavy box, led them all to his personal car, and drove them home, where he emptied the contents of that food box into their empty refrigerator. The 10 years since that first experience with Colel Chabad, I've realized that this is the same situation everywhere I go. They run hundreds of food box locations across Israel, but each spot is the same. It's clean, it's friendly, it's professional, it's run by volunteers, and it helps the most needy people in the towns, which is most important. The aid goes directly to the people. Not too long ago, I went to visit a fellowship-sponsored Colel Chabad soup kitchen in Ashdod, and it wasn't only respectable and clean, serving delicious, fresh, healthy food, but they also had food for the soul. For the elderly who live alone and are immigrants from the former Soviet Union, they have a more life journey that's difficult, so difficult that I can't even imagine. There are no words to put to it. Yet Colel Chabad gives them so much peace and hope as they arrange for simple classes for them to not only feed their body but also feed their soul. After surviving the Holocaust, communism, and immigrating to Israel, we are the only place that they can turn to. And these people, when I saw them, were shining with joy, inspiration, and utter appreciation for the simple gifts that they receive that we take for granted of food, warmth, and love. They know that if it's not for us, they would be alone in their old apartment, sick, hungry, bored, without anyone who cares. For so many of us, the need for humanitarian organizations to distribute food to Israel's needy sounds rather absurd. How can it be that there are hungry people in Israel this year, 2015? How can that be? I've heard so many people ask. Yet the statistics tell it all. In Israel, there's no national food program like the food cards that you have in America. It's led to a full-blown crisis in the Holy Land. 50,000 Holocaust survivors in Israel, nearly 25% of all of them live below the poverty line. 1 in 3 children live in poverty as well, and all of these people, without the help of nonprofits, would literally risk going to sleep hungry at night. Colel Chabad reaches out to everyone, no matter what their religious affiliation is, without any ulterior motives. When I see what's happening on the ground through the Rebbe's army, I think of one of my favorite teachings of the Lubavitch Rebbe. Don't use labels of Orthodox, conservative, or Reform, he said. We're all Jews, we all have ways to grow, and we're all one despite the labels. Colel Chabad doesn't use labels or look at labels. They act to give hope to Jews of all colors, ages, and religious affiliations. I remember a few years ago when the fellowship decided to begin a national food program delivering food to poor elderly across Israel because the government wasn't moving on it. Rabbi Duchman and Mendy approached me asking me to make this possible with their help. They wanted to be part of the program, and immediately we agreed. We already learned how when Rabbi Duchman sets his mind to something, he makes it happen. How he's one of the few people who can really cut through the bureaucracy, cut through the politics, simply create effective projects to help people with their struggles. And today, much because of Rabbi Duchman's partnership, the fellowship reaches over 17,000 poor elderly across Israel with fresh delivered meals on a weekly basis. The fellowship in Colel Chabad has changed the reality on the ground in Israel, and my father, Yael Eckstein, and I are so proud to be part of this holy, historic, and life-saving partnership. In the past 10 years, the fellowship has donated over $8 million to Colel Chabad projects. And I know that the aid that's been distributed and the effects of that aid are much greater than any number attached to it. In 2015, the fellowship gave $800,000 toward Colel Chabad soup kitchens and Rosh Hashanah and Pesach food distributions. And because of our deep respect and appreciation for the Avodat Kodesh of Colel Chabad, for the year 2016, we're raising this grant to $1 million. I'm disappointed that I couldn't make it to this wonderful event tonight in New York, but I want to congratulate you, Rabbi Duchman, on another successful year of helping more people in need, providing more people with life-saving aid, and most importantly, spreading the light of hope to millions of people. The Mesorah Award is one that I am so proud of, and to me, receiving this award does not tell me that I've completed my mission or give me peace in my heart for what I have accomplished. It gives me a goal. I pray that I will have the strength, wisdom, and divine guidance to truly live my life, both personal and professional, in the tradition of my father, the tradition of our forefathers, and the traditions of the Rebbe and all of the tzaddikim who have laid out the path of righteousness for us all. So mazal tov on this wonderful event, and toda rabah.